I let you guys decide, and in an almost overwhelming majority, you guys have chosen to let the corny intro stay. That is for now until I feel like removing it or I come up with an even cornier intro. We'll see about that. This is the Deeper Dive. In this show, you guys pick a topic, whatever it is you want me to discuss, and then I take a deep and thorough dive into it, explaining everything we know and giving you all the leading theories and information. Today's episode was chosen by Toby Wood with over 256 likes on his comment. He said, maybe the situation around 5, the outbreak and the reaction. So we are going to be taking a deeper dive into the map 5 today. I will say though, if you have a topic you would like me to discuss in a future episode of the Deeper Dive, please do leave it down in the comments below, or if you see somebody has actually suggested your idea, give them a thumbs up. Whichever comment has one of the most upvotes, I will be selecting for a future episode of the Deeper Dive. That's how this is going to work. You guys can pick whatever it is I dive into. Let's begin. If we're going to dive into 5, we should first get a little bit of background and explain how all of the crazy Group 935 tech and all of the zombies actually got into this map, because it's kind of weird to think that there are zombies inside the Pentagon. How could they have even gotten in? Well, if we look at the timeline, we have this date right here, January 19th, 1946. The United States and the Soviet Union share resources recovered from Group 935's various research stations. Richthofen's diary is among the items recovered by the Soviet Union. This is the beginning of everything. This is when the United States and the Soviet Union begin to work with Element 115 and begin a number of their experiments. It all starts with the end of World War II and them stealing a lot of tech and research from Group 935. As we move on, a little bit later, we have January 27, 1946. The Pentagon hires many former Group 935 scientists in an effort to replicate their work. So now the Pentagon has gotten involved, and the Pentagon has basically taken as many great German scientists as they can and have started to use them in order to recreate a lot of Group 935's work. So they're stealing the research of Germany, and they're stealing Germany's best scientists, something we actually saw happen in our own world, but now it's with Element 115, and the Pentagon is doing all the research within their building. We then have a little bit later, July 29th, 1952. The Pentagon begins experiments involving their own versions of the undead. This is how the zombies got to the map 5. It began with the Pentagon starting to do experiments with 115 and reanimating the dead, much like Group 935. So it's not like Samantha just teleported the zombies into the map, or the zombies came from nowhere. There were already zombies in the map. They were part of their experiments. The final date I have for you in the backstory to 5 is June 3rd, 1959, so almost a decade later. The Pentagon constructs their own prototype teleporters and consciousness experimentation. These are the little teleporters you see on the map. This is why when you play 5, you can find teleporters and you can find Group 935 technology. This is where all of this stuff comes from. It came from the United States and the Soviet Union stealing tech and scientists from Group 935 and then bringing them into their own facilities such as the Pentagon and doing work. So that's where all of that comes from. As we move into the map itself, we have a pretty interesting blurb from the timeline. November 6, 1963, 5. In the Pentagon, John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, Robert McNamara meet with Fidel Castro in the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Due to the events at the Cosmodrome, a zombie outbreak occurs. Samantha sends Yuri to the Pentagon to thwart their survival. After Gersh is freed and Ultimus departs from the Cosmodrome, the outbreak ends at the Pentagon. All 4 survive. There's so much we actually learn from this little bit of the timeline. The first thing we understand is how the outbreak happened. So there were zombies in the Pentagon, but it was what happened at Ascension that caused the outbreak at 5. These maps are interconnected. There's even a hotline running between the two maps. So Samantha knows that they're doing work with Element 115 at the Pentagon, and while she is sort of spurring the outbreak at Ascension, she also spurs the outbreak within the Pentagon. And she also brings Yuri, who was a member of the Ascension group, the very same member who actually caused part of the outbreak at Ascension by trapping Gersh in the Gersh device. He is teleported to Ascension and becomes the Pentagon Thief. So now we actually have learned the identity of the Pentagon Thief. That's where he comes from, and that's why he is teleported into the map. So all those theories about him being Hudson or other members of the zombie storyline are just false. Now, what about the ending to 5? Because this is when this bit of the timeline actually gets interesting. We got tricked. We got bamboozled. Treyarch pulled a fast one on us in Revelations. Many of you might remember this Revelations radio.
This is Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara. I am transmitting on a secure channel in the most dire of circumstances. The Pentagon is under attack from an unknown enemy. As of this moment, I am safely ensconced inside a janitor's closet. Unfortunately, I fear the President and the VIPs may not have found similar safe haven. From what I have observed, our attackers may be blighted by some kind of sickness. Either that or they're just dirty hippies under the influence of hallucinogenic substances. I can only hope that this message will bring rescue. Until then, please, pray for me.
Revelations fooled us and pulled a fast one on us. If you go back to some of my older videos, I made a number of videos on the radios that we find in Revelations, and I explained that they give us some clarity as to how a number of these maps ended. There was a radio from Call of the Dead, there was a radio from 5. We had these maps with new characters and we never learned what happened to them, and I thought that radios like these explain that the characters ended up just eventually dying in the outbreak. I thought, because of this radio, that McNamara was the final survivor of the outbreak, but he was trapped in a closet that was surrounded by zombies, and eventually he himself would succumb to the zombies too. That's what I thought. Treyarch had kind of slipped these radios into Revelations, didn't even tell us they were from Fractures, had no idea that they weren't actually from the real versions of 5, and we just assumed that they died, but as we learned from the timeline, they all survived. And this is our first hint that that radio from Revelations was actually a fracture and not the real 5 that we played in game. We also have this snippet of the timeline right here. November 6, 1963, except this is in the fractured universe. Hiding in a closet at the Pentagon, McNamara records a message confirming that John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, and Fidel Castro have died as a result of the zombie outbreak. He dies moments later. This is where that radio belongs. It belongs in the fractured universe, and Treyarch pulled a fast one on him and tricked me, especially. When I first read it, I'm like, God damn it, this is actually a fracture. That's not actually what it is. So it's good to know that they survive. I guess history can move on as normal. But what about the aftermath and the reaction to 5? What kind of went on there? Well, we have this bit of the timeline, which is 13 days later. November 19th, 1963. In an effort to avoid another undead outbreak, the US government creates a Broken Arrow program, establishing several facilities across the country. Groom Lake program is folded into Broken Arrow. The Groom Lake program was kind of part of the group that was working within the Pentagon. And now that they've realized that all this stuff is very dangerous and we can have zombie outbreaks like this, we need to be prepared. And this is where the founding of Broken Arrow comes from. So basically, if it wasn't for 5, we would never have Broken Arrow. We also probably wouldn't have Rustman. There's a lot that kind of spawns from 5. When you look at it, it just kind of seems like a little insulary map that doesn't have much of an effect on the zombie storyline. It just kind of goes on as Ascension goes on. But as you see, this is kind of the beginning of the Americans' entry into the zombie storyline. Beforehand, it was all just Germany and really Group 935, but now the Americans are starting to play a role. They're forming their own groups. They're starting to see the negative consequences of Element 115, and they're also starting to build their own wonder weapons. So that's what's going on there. That's going to wrap things up for this episode of A Deeper Dive. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, maybe give it a like, possibly subscribe for more. I'm always covering the zombie storyline, so if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy the next one. One more thing, if you'd like your topic to be featured in a future episode of The Deeper Dive, leave them down in the comments below, and if you see other people have suggested good ideas, give them a like on their comment. I'm going to be picking one of the comments that has the most likes in the comments below. I hope you'll have a wonderful day, and bye.